Hey everybody, I'm Connor with polyglossa.com. Welcome to this Grammar Essentials seminar. In today's seminar, we're going to learn all about the present perfect verb tense in English. So, before we start, remember that you can find us on Instagram at Polyglossa Languages and on YouTube, youtube.com/polyglossa. And of course, remember that we have seminars every week, and each seminar costs only $1. They're all just $1. They're cheap, they're easy, and they're helpful. So make sure you sign up for all the seminars you need at polyglossa.com. So let's get started. The present perfect verb tense is the most complicated verb tense in English, okay? So if you have trouble with this verb tense, that's okay. Don't worry, everyone does, okay? And after this seminar, you're not gonna be able to use it perfectly every time. That's not the point. The point of this seminar is for you to identify the different usages of the present perfect, so when you read or listen in English, you can understand better why the person is using the present perfect. Then, over time, you will become more comfortable with using it yourself because it will feel correct to use it in certain situations. So, today we're going to look at 5 usages of the present perfect. That's right, 5 usages. The present perfect is used in many situations, and we're just going to look at the main 5. If you learn these 5, it will really help you when you're trying to listen, identify, and understand the meaning of present perfect verb structures in English. Okay, first let's look at the contractions that happen as a result of the present perfect. We native speakers always use these contractions. For example, if I say, I've done, or you've done, or he's done, right? These are examples of contractions. They're the subject and auxiliary verb contracted together, right? So I would never say, I have done, or you have done, or he has done. I would never say this, so you shouldn't either. You should always contract your subject and auxiliary verb when you can. I've, you've, he's, she's, we've, they've, all of those contractions will help you sound more like a native speaker. So, now that we've seen the contractions, let's take a look at our first usage of the present perfect, okay? So, our number 1 usage, our first usage, is to talk about actions that happened in the past at an unspecified time. At an unspecified time. Okay, let me erase that. Actions in the past that happened at an unspecified time. This means that we don't know when it happened, and we don't care when it happened. The time has nothing to do with the action. For example, let's say I'm talking about my travels, and I say, I've never been to Cuba. Okay? I've never been to Cuba. Here, I'm talking about an action that happened or didn't happen at some time in my whole life. I'm not saying when it happened. I'm not saying how many times it happened. I'm not saying anything about the specific occasion. I'm only saying if it happened or didn't happen at some point in my life. It's like saying just yes or no, right? That's the only thing that matters. In this case, the answer is no. I've never been to Cuba. This means in my whole life, I never went there, okay? Or if I ask you, have you been to Mexico? All right? I'm asking you this question in the present perfect, have been, because I don't care about the specifics of when you went. I only care about the yes or the no. Did you ever go in your whole life or no? That's why I say, have you been to Mexico, right? One more example, if I say, I've already seen that movie, okay? So, if I say, I've already seen that movie, I'm saying that at some time in my life, in the past, I did this action. I saw that movie. Maybe I did it 10 times. Who knows? That doesn't matter. Nothing matters. The only thing that matters is the action, right? Did it happen in my whole life or no, right? I've already seen that movie, okay? So now let's look at the incorrect usage of this number one usage of the present perfect, okay? So for example, some English learners might say, I never went to Cuba. That's not correct, right? They're talking about their whole life, so they need to use I've never been to Cuba, because they're not talking about a specific time, a specific vacation. They just mean their whole life. In their whole life, they've never been. And it would be incorrect for me to ask you, did you go to Mexico? If I ask you like that, and I'm trying to talk about your whole life, that's not right. I need to ask, have you been to Mexico? However, let's pretend that you say to me, I went on vacation last month. Then I could ask, did you go to Mexico? Because now I'm talking about a specific time, right? That specific vacation that you mentioned, right? Or I could say, I went to Mexico last year, right? Now I'm talking about a specific time. I went to Mexico last year, right? And this last one, I wouldn't say, I already saw that movie. If I say that, it sounds like I'm saying I'm talking about a new movie in the movie theater. And my friend says, oh, let's go to the movie theater and watch that new movie. And then in that case, I might say, oh, I already saw that movie yesterday. I already saw that movie last week, or something like that. I'm talking about a recent time that I watched that new movie. But if I'm just talking about a movie in general that I have or haven't seen, I'm going to use the present perfect because I'm talking about my whole life, right? I've already seen that movie in my life before. Maybe 10 times, maybe 1 time. Who knows? It doesn't matter, right? But I could say, for example, oh, I saw that movie last month, right? Because now I'm talking about a specific time. So, with this usage of the present perfect, we're always talking about an action that happened at an unspecified time in the past. This means that we never use the present perfect when we're telling stories. Okay? If I ask you, how was your weekend? What did you do on the weekend? You will never use the present perfect, right? Why? Because you're telling a story. You have a time involved. If you have time involved, it's definitely not the present perfect. It's the simple past. I went to the movies. I hung out with my friends. I ate pizza at that new restaurant. I would just use the past simple, past simple, past simple over and over again. Whenever you're telling a story in the past, it's always the past simple, okay? It's not the present perfect, all right? So now let's look at our second usage of the present perfect, okay? So we're on number 2 now. So the second usage is to talk about actions that started in the past, and continue until now. However, we usually use this usage when we're talking about, or when we're using non-continuous verbs, okay? So, what is a non-continuous verb? Well, a good example of that would be the verb to have, and another one would be to be. These are verbs that we don't usually change into the continuous form. For example, I don't say, I am being here, right? I just say, I am here. And I don't say, I am having this house, right? I say, I have this house. So those are examples of non-continuous verbs. A normal continuous verb is often changed into the continuous form. For example, I am talking. I am giving a seminar, right? Those are continuous verbs, okay? So let's see some examples of this using our 2 verbs right here, to have, to be. There are some others, but not too many, right? These are the ones that will show up most of the time. So I just want you to worry about these 2, okay? For example, I have had this house for 2 years, okay? And of course, as you remember, normally I would say I've, right? But for the sake of helping you see the sentence structure, I'm writing the auxiliary verb. But normally we would say I've had, right? So just a note, okay? Remember, we always contract. I've had this house for 2 years. Here we have a non-continuous verb. We don't say I have been having or I am having this house. Nope. We say I have had this house for 2 years. This means that the action started 2 years ago. I bought the house, and now, today, I still have the house. It started in the past and continues until now, right? Here's another example. I have been here. I've been here for 30 minutes, okay? So here we have another example of a non-continuous verb, the verb to be. I have been here. Be careful, because been is also an auxiliary verb that's used with the present perfect continuous. I have been playing. I have been talking. But this is our main verb in this structure. We don't have playing or talking or living, right? We just have I have been here for 30 minutes. So we can't say I have been being here for 30 minutes. That doesn't make sense. So we need to use the present perfect. I have been here for 30 minutes. Here's one more example. This place has existed for a long time. Okay? Here's another example of a non-continuous verb, to exist, right? We don't say it has been existing or it is existing. We just say it exists. So here, I would say this place has existed for a long time. That means it started a long time ago, it started in existence, and it still exists today. So you see with each of these examples, we have an action that started at a specified time in the past and continues until now, okay, until today. So this usage of the present perfect always relates to the present, right? You have done it until now. However, if we have a continuous verb, a normal verb, we don't normally use this verb tense for that occasion. We normally use the present perfect continuous. For example, I have been living here for 3 years. Living is not a continuous verb, a non-continuous verb. It's a continuous verb. So we say I have been living, right? I have been talking to you for 5 minutes. However, if we have a non-continuous verb like to have, to be, or to exist, we use the present perfect to say that that action started at a specified time in the past and continues until now. So this usage is talking about duration, the duration of time. Okay? So let's look at our number 3 usage now. Okay? So we've seen 2 so far. Okay? And now we're going to see 3 more. Let's start right now with number 3. So the number 3 usage is for actions that are expected to happen. Okay? Actions that are expected to happen. And with this usage, we only use it with negatives and questions, not with affirmatives, positives. And just so you know, when I talk about this with negatives and questions, what I'm saying, or what I'm talking about right now, is American English. In British English, it is possible to use the present perfect in different ways. But in American English, we can't use this one in the positive. We only use it with negatives and questions for this number 3 usage, right? We could use it in the positive, but it sounds weird, so we don't do that in American English. I'll show you what I mean, okay? So let's look at this example. Let's start with a question. Have you eaten breakfast yet? Have you eaten breakfast yet? So, eating breakfast is an action that I expect you to do. Almost everyone eats breakfast, right? So I expect that you're going to do that today. But I just don't know if you already did it or no. So I might ask, have you eaten breakfast yet? It's an expected action, and I use it in the question form. I could respond in the negative form. I haven't eaten breakfast yet. I haven't eaten breakfast yet. So now, the negative form. I haven't eaten breakfast yet. This means that I'm gonna do it, right? It's expected. I'm gonna do it, but right now in this moment, I still haven't done it yet. But I will, right? Have you eaten breakfast yet? No, I haven't. I haven't eaten breakfast yet. Okay, let's see another example. I might ask, have you finished your homework? Okay? Have you finished your homework? So let's say I'm talking to my son and I want to know, have you finished your homework? I would ask it in the present perfect because I expect him to finish his homework, right? He has no choice. He has to finish. It's expected. But I just don't know if it already happened yet or no. And my son might say, I haven't finished my homework. okay? So he can answer, I haven't finished my homework, right? Or he could just say this, right? I haven't finished my homework. This means that he's gonna do it. He's gonna finish it at some point, but he still hasn't finished it yet, right now, okay? So, as I mentioned before, in American English, we only use this usage of the present perfect with negatives and questions. We don't use it with affirmative or positive statements. For example, I would never say, I have eaten breakfast. I would never say that. I would never say, I have eaten breakfast already. I would never say that. And I would never say, I have finished my homework. I would never say this. And most Americans would never say this either, okay? So if someone asks me, have you eaten breakfast yet? I could say, yes, I have, or no, I haven't. That's fine. I could say, yes, I have. But I would never just say, I have eaten breakfast, right? Or if someone asked me, have you finished your homework? I could say, yes, I have. But I would never just say, I have finished my homework, okay? So when we talk about completed actions, we would talk in the past simple. I would say, I ate breakfast, or I ate breakfast already, right? I already did my homework. That's what I would say. But in British English, they do use the affirmative with this usage. So that's the usage that they probably taught you in school, and that's probably why you're so confused when you see these different examples of completed actions. Because we don't use the present perfect for that. They do. So just a note for yourself, okay? So this is the third usage. It's talking about expected actions, actions that are expected to happen. And we only use it in American English with negatives or questions, okay? So now, let's look at our number 4 usage. So the number 4 usage is for actions that can still happen within a specific time period, okay? Actions that can still happen within a specific time period. Let me show you what I mean by that. Let's take the sentence, I have eaten a lot of chocolate today. Okay, and remember I would always say I've, but I'm writing it as I have. I've eaten a lot of chocolate today. If I say this sentence, this means that I already ate a lot of chocolate today, but I can still eat more chocolate today. I still have the opportunity to eat more today. Maybe it's only 3 p.m., for example, and it's only 3 p.m. I still have more hours in the day, more opportunities to eat chocolate. I have more chocolate, so I could eat more, right? So I could say, I have eaten a lot of chocolate today, and I could still eat more. However, now let's pretend it's 11 p.m. and I'm in bed and I say to my wife, wow, I ate a lot of chocolate today. I would use the past simple. Why? Because I can't do any more of that action today in this specific time period. It's already 11 p.m., I'm in bed, I have no more chocolate, I'm not eating anymore. I ate a lot of chocolate today, right? So you see the difference there. If we use the present perfect, it can still happen, right? I can still do more of it. If I use the past simple, it means that that period, it's over, right? I can't do more of that action. Here's another example. If I ask you the question, have you seen Jim today? Okay, so here you can imagine maybe we're at work, you and I are coworkers, and I ask you, hey, have you seen Jim today? I would ask in the present perfect because you still have more opportunities to see Jim today. Maybe it's only halfway through the workday and you have more hours that you could see the coworker Jim at our workplace, right? But let's pretend now that it's nighttime and I call you and I say, hey, did you see Jim today? Did you see Jim at work today? Now I'm asking in the past simple because you can't do this action anymore today, right? Today's over. The workday is over, right? You had your chance to see Jim, but now you can't do it anymore, right? So I would use the past simple. Did you see Jim today? Does that make sense? Let's look at one more. I might say this. I've traveled a lot this year. Okay? This year. So, if I say this sentence, I've traveled a lot this year, that means that I can still travel more this year. So maybe it's only June or July, and I say, wow, I've traveled a lot this year. Well, I could still travel more. I still have August, September, October, November, December. I can still travel more this year. But now let's pretend it's December, right? And we're talking and I say to you, this was a good year. I traveled a lot this year. I'm using the past simple because this year is over. It's December, right? I'm not going to travel anymore. I don't have any more opportunities to travel in that time period, right? So you see the difference there between using the present perfect and the past simple, right? That's why it's never correct if you just say, I traveled to Spain. If you don't have any context, any time, right? If I ask you, where did you travel last year? Of course you could say, I traveled to Spain. But let's pretend we have no context and you just say, I traveled to Spain. That wouldn't make sense because it's like saying that you have no more life left, right? Because you didn't specify the time. So I'm just thinking the time is your life, right? So if you're dying, you're on your deathbed and you say, I regret that I never traveled to Spain. Then it makes sense. But if you're still living, right, you have more life to live, you have more opportunities, you're going to say, I've never traveled to Spain, because you could do it in the future in your life, right? So that's another important note. Now let's move on to our last usage, our fifth usage of the present perfect, okay? So our fifth usage of the present perfect is to talk about how long it's been since you last did an action. Okay? So, let's take an example here. Let's pretend I say, I haven't seen Jim in 3 years. Okay? So, here I use the present perfect because I'm telling you how long it's been since I last did this action. The last time I saw Jim was 3 years ago. So I saw him 3 years ago, and since then, I haven't seen him, right? Even until today, I haven't seen him. The last time I did that action was 3 years ago. So I would say I haven't seen Jim in 3 years. We would use the negative, right? I haven't seen him, and then the time period, in 3 years, in 5 weeks, right? Here's another example. I haven't played my guitar in 4 weeks. Okay? So this means that the last time I played my guitar was 4 weeks ago, 4 weeks in the past. Since then, I haven't played my guitar, right? The last time I did the action was 4 weeks ago, right? So you can see here this pattern. I haven't seen, I haven't played, blah, 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 in, and then the time period. There's one more way you could structure these sentences with the present perfect. For example, it's been 3 years since I've seen Jim. Okay? So this means the same thing as this sentence. I haven't seen Jim in 3 years. It's been 3 years since I've seen Jim. So it's two ways of saying the same thing. Here, this is a contraction of it has been. It has been 3 years since I have seen Jim. So we have present perfect, present perfect. It means the same as this. Or I could say, it's been 4 weeks since I've played my guitar. So this sentence means the same thing as this sentence. I haven't played my guitar in 4 weeks. It's been 4 weeks since I've played my guitar. Notice the difference that here we have positive constructions. Since I've seen Jim, since I've played my guitar, right? But here we have negative constructions. I haven't seen Jim, I haven't played my guitar. But the meaning is the same, right? So they're both present perfect and they have the same meaning, but it's just a different structure, okay? So that was our last usage, our 5th usage. I want to point out that there are probably multiple other usages of the present perfect, okay? So I'm not saying that these are all of the usages, right? But these are 5 main usages that can really help you understand the usage of the present perfect, okay? So this might help you understand why native speakers are using either the present perfect or the past simple, or maybe either the present perfect or present perfect continuous, right? So if you understand these points, you might be able to understand better why a native speaker chose to use the present perfect. So what you need to do is you need to take what you learned here, and I want you to start to notice these 5 usages of the present perfect when you're reading and when you're listening, right? If you can start to understand or identify and understand these usages, things will make more sense to you, right? You won't be so confused about why someone is using the present perfect, because you'll understand, oh yeah, they're using it because blah, 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 the number 3 usage. It's an expected action, right? So if you do that, it will really help you, okay? Just because you learned these 5 usages doesn't mean you can use them perfectly on your own. That's not how language works, right? You need to take what you've learned here and apply it to your listening and your reading, and over time you will become more comfortable with using the present perfect in your speech. It will feel right. It will feel correct, okay? So we're gonna stop there for today. Remember to follow us on Instagram at Polyglossa Languages, and find us on YouTube, youtube.com/polyglossa. And remember that we have seminars every week at polyglossa.com, and each seminar is only $1. They all cost $1, all right? They're cheap, they're easy, they're helpful, so make sure you sign up for all the seminars that you need, okay? We have grammar seminars, pronunciation seminars, listening practice seminars. We have different types every week, okay? So, it was my pleasure teaching you today. I'm Connor with polyglossa.com, and I'll see you next seminar.